Hello everyone, welcome back. So in today's lesson, we'll learn about the source-based case study skill on proving. Alright, so our agenda for today is to first cover what is proving, how do we identify questions which requires us to prove a claim. Okay, then we have to understand the different types of proving question and the steps taken to answer them. And then finally, we'll also go through some answering structure and answering sentences, and we'll very briefly talk about the practice which you guys are required to do as part of your homework. Alright, so without further ado, let us begin. So what is proving? Okay, when we talk about proving, we are always trying to demonstrate the truth of something. Alright, the truth or the existence of something. Okay, and then we demonstrate this truth by using evidence or by our argument. Alright, so how to do proving in source-based case study? Number one, you have to prove the claim by providing evidence from the source. Alright, so this is, in other words, our source content level. Okay, then number two, we can also prove the claim by arguing about the reliability of a source. Alright, so when arguing about the reliability of a source, we will talk about how do we do so using cross-referencing and as well as our critical analysis of the provenance. Okay, so so just to give you a very quick example, all right, let's say we talk about a concert. Okay, so for example, we have two persons, Jack and Mary. All right, so Jack will Jack will make a claim. So for example, Jack might say, okay, the concert is good. Alright, so this is a claim made by Jack, right? So how do we know that whatever Jack says is true? Okay, so this is where we come and talk about the proving. Alright, so how can we prove that Jack's claim that the concert is good is true? Okay, so we can do so by using two methods. The first one is to look at the evidence that Jack can provide. Alright, so Jack may say that, oh, I was at the concert and then I saw all the concert goers being very excited and screaming the singer's name. Okay, so that is the evidence he provides to prove his claim that the concert is good. Alright, and then at the same time, I can also look at the Jack as a person itself. Okay, and I do critical analysis about him. So I can say that, oh, Jack is a music lover. Alright, so Jack knows a lot about music, so definitely he can prove and say the claim that the concert which he went to is good. Alright, and then I can also say that Jack attended the concert in person. He was there to witness it. Okay, so that is why he can prove that the concert is good. Alright, so this is just a very basic and simple example of what is proving about. Okay, basically you have to demonstrate the truth or existence of something. Alright, so when we look at our source-based case study, okay, if you take a look at the right-hand side of your screen, you would see an example over here. Okay, and then in this case, the issue question is actually, will self-driving cars be beneficial for America? Alright, so this is our issue question, and then the sources over here actually talks about the impacts of self-driving car on America. Alright, so in this case, right, if we look at the different types of proving question, okay, there are two types that can appear. The first one would actually be your single proving question. So what do I mean by a single proving question? Okay, in a single proving question, all right, there would only be one source which you are required to study, okay, and one claim. Right, so let me repeat that again. So in a single proving question, there will be one source and one claim. Okay, so if you look at the example over here, how far does source B prove? Okay, how far does source B proves that self-driving cars will benefit America? So the source that is given to you is actually the source B, alright? And then the claim is the self-driving car benefiting America. Okay, so you have to show whether or not the source B shows that self-driving car is beneficial. Alright, so in this case, when we break down the question, we will actually have the source B being the main source, okay, and then the claim self-driving car benefiting America. This is the statement which you have to prove true or false. Alright, so this is for a single proving question. Now, compared to a double proving question. Okay, in a double proving question, you will be given two sources, alright, or rather two sources. Okay, so in the two sources that you are supposed to study, there will be a main source, and the secondary source would actually be the claim itself. Alright, so if we were to look at this same issue question, the question given to you over here is actually a double proving question. Okay, why is that so? Because you have two sources. Alright, so the question is usually structured as such. How far does source B prove that source C is wrong? Okay, so the claim over here, right, would be something about source C and whether or not it is right or wrong. Alright, so far most commonly seen is wrong. Okay, so in this case, how far does source B prove that source C is wrong? Alright, so source B is the one doing the proving, so naturally source B would still be the main source. Alright, and then the statement source C is wrong becomes the claim. Okay, so these are the two different types of proving question. So let us take a look at how to answer these questions one by one. Alright, so we start with our single proving question because that is more straightforward. So the steps to take, okay, number one is you first have to identify, okay, what is source B talking about. Alright, so how far does source B prove that self-driving car benefit America? So I have to study source B and identify what does it says about self-driving car in America. Okay, in other words, over here I have to make a basic inference, okay, in relation to the issue or question focus. Alright, so if I look at source B, let us all take a look at source B now. Okay, so source B is an excerpt from a blog post by a technological police expert. So in source B, he says that the driverless revolution is about so much more than taxis, has the potential to radically transform not just transportation, but the entire economy. Alright, so the first sentence is trying to say that the self-driving car would actually change the whole society. Alright, so next line it says bus driver, whether for schools, cities or long distance travel, would be made obsolete. Okay, obsolete meaning that they would become out of place, they would become useless. Alright, so once cars drive themselves, okay, food deliveries will be a matter of restaurants filling a car with orders and sending it off, eliminating the need for delivery driver. Alright, then the next line says once fully autonomous vehicles are commonplace, it would make sense for postal services to make use of the technology to deliver mail. Drivers of delivery truck may also face extinction. Right? So this is what the source is telling us. So what can we infer about self-driving cars' impact on America? Okay, I'll give you some time to think about it before I reveal the answer. Alright, so over here, okay, this source, what is this source trying to say? It's actually trying to tell us that, okay, self-driving car will not benefit America. Alright, now why do I say that it's trying to tell us that it will not benefit America? Okay, because if we look at the evidence, right, it says that it would transform the economy, eliminating the need for delivery driver, and the drivers of delivery truck may also face extinction. Alright, so what is this trying to say over here? Through the introduction of self-driving cars, right, actually what happens is that workers will lose their jobs. Okay, because once I have the self-driving, I do not need drivers anymore. Then what would happen to all these drivers? They would lose their job and lose their income. So this is a negative impact. It does not benefit America. Okay, it does not benefit Americans. Okay, the people living in America. Alright, so over here, if we look back at the question, right, so how far does source B prove that self-driving car benefit America? Because source B says that it actually does not benefit America, right? So over here, the source cannot prove the benefit. Okay, in other words, the source is contradicting the claim. So source B does not prove. Alright, so let us recap the steps that is taken. So step number 1, we would make an inference from the source, okay, and this is our inference: the self-driving car will not benefit America. Okay, so after we study source B, we identify what does it say, we make an inference. Then level 1, okay, we address the question by providing evidence from the source itself. Alright, so if source B shows that self-driving cars benefits America, right, so in other words, whatever inference you make from the source is same as the claim over here, then source B proof. Alright, however, if source B shows that self-driving car does not benefit America, so it is contradicting the question. Okay, it contradicts the claim in the question. Okay, so it says does not prove. Alright. Okay, so this is for the first step. You answer based on the source content. Okay, so second level, alright, this is where you get to score higher marks. Okay, second level, you actually do your cross-referencing to examine the reliability of source B. Alright, so address the question by arguing about the reliability of source B using cross-referencing. So in this case, if after we cross-reference, we find that source B is reliable, then source B would prove that self-driving car benefits America. Okay, however, if we find that source B is unreliable, that means that source B does not prove self-driving car benefits America. Alright, so in this lesson, I will not go through how to do cross-referencing because it is a skill that you have learned previously. So this is what you need to know, the steps to take. Alright, and then level 3 is also based on reliability. So we address the question by arguing about the reliability of source B. Okay, so using our critical analysis of provenance. So if source B is reliable, once again it proves. If source B is unreliable, it does not prove. Alright, so over here, let's quickly take a look at the provenance. So in source B, the provenance is by technological policy expert. So this guy clearly knows the impacts of self-driving car on America, okay, because he's an expert over here. Alright, so being an expert, okay, and then in particular about technology, naturally he would try to promote the use of technology, right? So being an expert, so being a tech expert, okay, it is likely to promote the use of technology. Alright, however, now what is this guy trying to do over here? Okay, this guy, instead of promoting the use of technology, okay, he is actually showing the negative impacts of it. Alright, so instead of trying to promote the use of technology, right, the author over here is trying to show the negative impacts. Now, if he were to talk about the negative impacts, what is the reason behind he wants to do it? Alright, if we look once again at his role, he's not only a tech expert, he's actually an expert on the policy related to technology. So in other words, why do you think he wants to caution about the negative impacts? Okay, he's cautioning about negative impacts so that, okay, policy makers can prevent the loss of jobs when they introduce self-driving cars. Alright, so there's this good motive that he wants to have, right? He wants to caution against the negative impacts so that the policy makers can, in other words, the government, alright? When the government introduce the use of self-driving car, they can do their best, okay, to implement rules and regulations such that it prevents the loss of jobs. So he's trying to protect the jobs of the people. Alright, and in doing so, okay, is he being biased or being taking sides, or does he have any vested interest in the use of self-driving car? Alright, in this case we will say don't have, okay, because he's actually being very factual about it and he's showing the negative impacts so that we can manage the negative impacts well. So, alright, so given that this author, okay, he does not have any vested interest, he's not biased in any way, okay, in fact he's truthful about the harm that self-driving car may be done, so we can say that this author is reliable. Alright, so over here, right, he is being truthful about negative impacts of self-driving car despite being a technology expert who is likely to promote it. Alright, therefore he is reliable, okay, and in this case, right, he's acting out of position, okay, i.e. it is enhanced reliability. Right, his reliability is enhanced in this case, okay, because this is like what you say the twist. Alright, we expect him to be actually promoting use of technology, however the twist is that he highlights, alright, the problems about using technology. Okay, so this author, he is reliable, okay, he's being truthful about negative impacts and so on, so he is reliable. Alright, so source B, if we come back to look at the left hand side over here, okay, source B is reliable based on my CAP. So source B actually proves that, okay, the self-driving car is not beneficial to America. Alright, okay, so take note of this thing. You have to change the term over here to prove that self-driving car is not beneficial. Alright, okay, so that is for your single proving question. So we say that the author here in this case is reliable, so he's able to prove whether or not self-driving car is beneficial. And in this case, because the source is saying that self-driving car is not beneficial, right, so source B proves that self-driving car is not beneficial to America. Okay, now let me just write this down so that you can take note of it. Okay, so source B is reliable and proves that self-driving cars is beneficial to, is not beneficial to America. Okay, is the same as source B does not prove that self-driving cars is beneficial to America. Alright, so source B is reliable and it does not prove that self-driving car is beneficial to America. Alright, so these two sentences are actually referring to the same thing. I just want to point it out over here to you because some of you might say, teacher, isn't the statement beneficial? Then now why you change it to not beneficial? Alright, so if we want to ensure that the claim remains the same, right, so we would have to say it does not prove that it is beneficial, okay, because in fact it proves that it is not beneficial. Alright, then you might say, sure, but over here you say unreliable source does not prove. Okay, so why do you now say it is reliable and it does not prove? Alright, because the statement over here is about it being beneficial, but the source is showing that self-driving car is not beneficial. Alright, so you have to actually change the phrasing of the statement, okay, to ensure that you do not contradict yourself. Okay, so I know this part over here is a bit confusing. Basically what you need to know is you have to remember these two rules, alright, and then you have to change the statement accordingly. Okay, this only applies to your CAP level, right, when you're doing the reliability. Okay, you have to change the statement accordingly in order to not contradict yourself. Alright, so I give you these two sentences over here so that you can see that actually they are referring to the same thing. Alright, now if you are confused, you have to pause the video at this moment and read through the statements again to figure it out and make sense of it. Alright, so pause the video if you need to. Okay, if not, if you think that you are fine, then we will move on to double proving questions. Alright, so for double proving, I've already gone through the type of question, right? So basically it says, how far does source B prove that source C is wrong? So source B proved is the main source, source C is wrong is the claim. Alright, so the steps to take, the first step to take, you need to study source C. Okay, then you need to identify what it says about self-driving car in America. Okay, so let us do it now. Alright, so if we look at source C, okay, source C is an analysis by the American Transportation Research Institute, okay, published in the American Trucking Association. Alright, so over here source C actually says that trucking industry face not only a shortfall of qualified driver, okay, also but it is aging workforce. So truck driver may become more attractive career as automation relieves some of the stress of the job. Alright, so automation, so it makes the job become more attractive. Automation relieves some of the stress of the job. Okay, then the technology may incentivize younger individuals to pursue a career in trucking. Alright, so is this a benefit over here? Yes, it is, because with the use of technology, okay, it actually makes the job more it makes the job easier to do. Alright, and then it makes the job more attractive to the young people. Alright, so in this case, self-driving car will benefit America. Alright, makes jobs more attractive. Alright, allows truck companies to hire new workers. Alright, so this is a benefit for America. Okay, so with automation, okay, drivers are able to rest, work on paper, okay, while their iPad while the truck is driving to take over the necessary. Okay, so drivers are gone for a long period of time and have to be alert for several hours. So the semi-autonomous trucking will allow driver to be more productive and get needed rest. Alright, why is this important as well? Okay, because if a driver has enough rest, right, the chances of accident actually decreases. So the second point is that also drivers can be productive on the job. Okay, have enough rest and drive safely. Alright, reducing road accidents. Okay, so this source is actually trying to tell us that, yeah, despite everything that was said, okay, technology and self-driving car actually benefits America. Alright, so level 1, okay, we address the question by providing evidence from source B to support or contradict source C, right? So this one is quite similar to what you do previously. So if source B supports source C, okay, then it does not prove source C is wrong. Alright, if source B contradicts source C, okay, then it proves that source C is wrong. Okay, so if we look at these two sources over here, source B says it does not benefit America, while source C say it benefits America. Okay, so in this case, it definitely contradicts source C. So in other words, okay, what can we conclude for this this question over here? So because the sources contradict each other, so we will say that source B prove that source C is wrong. Alright, so over here, source B contradicts source C, prove that source C is wrong. Okay, so you go ahead to give your evidence and explanation. Alright, now level 2. Level 2 is quite similar to double surprise question because at this level you will need to cross-refer to the third source. Alright, so in this case we will have to find a third source, source X, okay, and then we have to cross-refer both sources B and C to the third source. Alright, so over here I have key in the different combinations. There are a total of 3 different combinations. Alright, so if we look at the combination, right, source B and C, they contradict each other. So source B say does not benefit, okay, source C says it benefits. Now if the third source you cross refer to support source B, alright, so X support B, this means that B is correct. Okay, when B is correct, B is reliable, alright, then it proves that C is wrong. Alright, so over here source X support source B and contradict source C. Source B, okay, is reliable and proves that source C is wrong. Alright. Now, however, if when I cross-refer both sources to the third source, okay, source X actually supports source C and contradicts B. Alright, so you see X says benefit America, C also says benefits America. Alright, so in this case, source X contradicts source B and supports source C. So source B is unreliable and does not prove source C is wrong. Alright, so in this case is unreliable and does not prove. Okay, so you have to remember this. Now the last combination, alright, the last combination is whereby both sources are saying the same thing, which in this case is not in our in this SBCS, alright, but I'll just let you know over here. So for example, if both sources B and C are saying the same thing, now then when you find source X, you go and find a source that agrees with both of them as well. Alright, so in this last scenario, okay, you say that source X supports both B and C. Alright, so source B is reliable and does not prove that source C is wrong. Alright, now this is the part over here where it's quite similar to this thing over here, whereby I say that both sources are, where I say that B is reliable, yet it does not prove. Alright, so why this time round the reliable source does not prove that something is wrong? Okay, the reason being is that the statement says source C is wrong. Alright, so in this case the statement is saying that source C is wrong. Okay, but if we look at all three sources are saying the same thing, right? So that means source C is correct, right? Source C is right. So if source C is right, how can source B prove that it is wrong? Alright, remember we talked about this statement over here, that they are actually the two same thing. So in this case over here, B is reliable, it does not prove that C is wrong. Okay, it's similar in structure to the statement over here. Alright, so let me just copy this again so to make it clearer for you. Okay, in this case, for the last example, okay, source B is reliable and does not prove that source C is wrong. This statement is the same as, okay, source B is reliable and proves that source C is right. Alright, so source B is reliable and does not prove that C is wrong is the same as saying source B is reliable and proves that C is right. Alright, they have the same meaning, just different phrasing. Okay, so whenever you come across this two special scenario, right? The first special scenario is the one I put over here, okay, in which B is reliable and prove that the claim and prove the claim. Okay, and the second scenario, B is reliable and does not prove the claim. Okay, this special scenario basically only applies when the source over here is reliable. Alright, so you do not change whether or not the source is reliable. You just have to change the whether or not it proves. Alright, so B is reliable, does not prove C is wrong. Okay, I don't change this portion over here. I don't change whether or not B is reliable because based on my cross-referencing skill, B is reliable. Alright, so I would just change the back over here, prove or does not prove, C is wrong or C is right. Okay, these two sentences have the same meaning. Alright, so to avoid confusion, now just to sum up whatever I just talked about, so to avoid confusion, do not change the claim in the question. Okay, so you don't put that source C is wrong versus source C is right. Okay, then you also do not change whether or not B is reliable. Okay, if you, after doing your CAP or your cross-referencing, okay, B is unreliable, stick with it. Alright, or if after doing your CAP or your cross-referencing, B is reliable, okay, you stick with it. Alright, the only thing that you change is whether or not the source prove or does not prove. Alright, so you just tackle these two words and then you would avoid confusing yourself. Okay, so typically when the question says that prove source C is wrong, both sources will be contradicting with each other. Alright, and the highest level is to show how it does prove. Okay, how does the main source prove the other source is wrong? Alright, so typically if it says source C is wrong, then this would be the scenario. Okay, but if let's say both the sources are actually similar and supporting each other, then you would know how to answer as well by using the last scenario over here. Right? So level 3 for double proving questions, okay, is the same thing over here. You have to address the question by arguing about the reliability of both sources B and C using your critical analysis of provenance. Alright, so use your CAP. So in this case, you don't need to bring in a third source anymore. Alright, when you do your CAP, you just focus on the CAP for B and the CAP for C. Alright, so if by CAP case B is reliable, C is unreliable, so B proves C is wrong. Alright, if B is unreliable, okay, C is reliable, B does not prove C is wrong. Alright, so when B does not prove C is wrong, it is the same as source B. Okay, sorry, we don't talk about this. I don't want to confuse you. So when B is unreliable, right? So B does not prove. Okay, so B does not prove C is wrong. In other words, C is right. Alright. So over here, okay, source C is right. Alright. Now, if source B is unreliable, source C is unreliable also. So let's say both sources based on your CAP are unreliable. Okay, so same thing, source B does not prove C is wrong. Alright, because B is wrong already. Right? So if B is wrong, how can it prove anything? Okay, so this case does not prove C is wrong. Now, if by CAP both sources are reliable, okay, if both sources are reliable, it is not possible for proving, okay, to prove that the source is wrong. Alright, because it does not allow for both sources to be right at the same time. Alright, so over here there are two scenarios. Both sources are reliable. Okay, let me just clarify this. So both sources are reliable. Source B supports source C. Okay, then it is not possible for proof that it is wrong because does not allow for both sources to be right at the same time. Okay, so let me change this. Okay, so both sources are right. Alright. So in this case, right, if both sources are reliable, then it means that source B supports source C, right? So it only applies to proof source is right. Okay. So source B prove that source C is right. Alright. Now, is it possible? Okay, is it possible source C is it possible for source C to contradict source C? Sorry, is it possible for source B to contradict source C? Alright, and then both sources are reliable? Technically, yes. Okay, but this is really very confusing. So it is not very likely for the exam to actually come out in this combination. Alright, so both sources are actually saying different things, but both sources are reliable. So does B prove that C is wrong? Okay, in this case, right, it's actually self-contradictory lah. So it is not likely for such questions to come out. Okay, so I will just put over here. Okay, unlikely to come out. Alright, so in this last scenario, this one is really unlikely to come out, so you don't need to worry too much about it. Alright, so over here I've come to the end of how do you answer proving questions. Okay, this is all the thought process you have to take. How do you analyze the different sources and so on. Alright, so the key point to remember, okay, is that to sum up everything that I've gone through, right, the key point to remember is that you have to prove the claim, right, by providing evidence from the sources. Okay, so this is your source content level. Okay, then ultimately you also have to prove the claim by arguing about the reliability of a source. Alright, so if the rule that you need to remember is that reliable sources can prove the claim. Okay, and then unreliable sources are not able to prove the claim. Alright, so regardless of whatever I said over here, right, if at the end of the day a weird scenario came out, okay, but you remember that this rule over here, reliable sources can prove the claim, unreliable sources cannot prove the claim. Alright, then you stick to it, you would be fine. Alright, so this one is the key point to remember. Okay, so finally, what sentence starters do you use? Okay, so for single proving question, very straightforward. Okay, in single proving question, source B does not prove, source B prove or does not prove. So you answer the question directly, okay, then you give evidence. This is evidence from, this suggests that, alright, then you just, however, source B is supported by source C, so you cross-refer to another source, alright, then this is evidence from, this suggests that, okay, then finally you say, since both B is supported or contradicted by C, okay, so the source is, then you say, is it reliable or unreliable, then you answer the question again, prove or does not prove, right? So this is for single proving question. Okay, then for double proving question, for single proving question, your next paragraph you would do your CAP. So source B prove or does not prove that self-driving car will benefit America, okay, because it is reliable or unreliable. So you just address the reliability of the source. Remember that you have to give evidence and explain yourself. So this is evident as, then I would use my CAP skills over here. Then finally I conclude the question. Alright, so this is for single proving. Now what about double proving? Okay, so let us go through a sentence starter for double proving question. So for double proving, alright, so same thing, okay, so, source content and cross-referencing, you write together. So source B prove or does not prove. Okay, so instead of saying that self-driving car will benefit America, right, now here you will write the new claim. So source C is wrong, alright. Okay, this is evident in source B from, this suggests that. So you explain source B. Okay, so then you will say however, you will say furthermore or however, okay, depending on whether or not they support or contradict. So source B okay, sorry, let me just amend that a little bit. So however, source C shows that. Alright, so remember you have to talk about both the sources first. So over here you'll say furthermore or however source C shows that. Okay, then you would give the claim over here. So this is evidence in source C from this suggests that. Alright. So then the next line I would do my cross-referencing to third source. Alright. So over here I would say, okay, when both sources B and C are cross referred to source X, comma, okay, source X supports / contradicts alright, source X would support or contradict, okay, source B and support / contradict source C. Alright, then you will say this is evident from source X. Sorry, this is evident in source X from, okay, this suggests that. Alright, so since source B is supported or contradicted by source X, okay, the source is reliable or unreliable and prove or does not prove that, okay, then you write your claim here, source C is wrong. Alright, so the only difference for a double proving question comes in the middle part over here. So you give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, in a double proving question, you would have 10 sentences. So let me recap with you once again to clarify it. Alright, so you'll start off source B prove that source C is wrong. Okay, so depending on whether or not they contradict each other lah. Alright, then this is evident in source B from, this suggests that. Then you'll talk about source C, so you'll say furthermore. Okay, furthermore is to add ideas. So if C and B are supporting each other, okay, you say furthermore source C shows that. Alright, however they contradict each other, you say however source C shows that. Then you show the contradiction. Then you say this is evidence from C, this suggests that. Alright, then next step you have to do your cross-referencing also. So you say when both sources B and C are cross-referred to source X, this is your third source. Okay, source X supports B and, okay, so let's say it supports B and contradicts C. Alright, then therefore B is reliable, right, and C is wrong. Okay, so when you cross-refer to source X, so source X contradicts B and supports C. So B is unreliable and does not prove that C is wrong. Okay, because C is correct. Alright. Now, if source X supports both sources B and C, then since source B is supported by, let me repeat that. So if source X supports both sources B and C, your conclusion would be since source B and source C is supported by source X, alright, the source is reliable. And now in this case, because it says source C is wrong, right? So you'll say reliable and does not prove that source C is wrong, right? However, if the statement is say that source C is right, then you will say that since source B and C is supported by source X, okay, the source is reliable and prove that source C is right. Alright, so this last sentence over here, you really have to change it accordingly to what the claim is. Okay, so in our example over here, so When both sources are cross-referred to X, source X supports or contradicts. Okay, then it supports or contradicts. So this is evidence from in X from, this suggests that. And then finally, you would answer the question once again. Alright. Now then, in terms of writing your CAP, so same thing, answer the question directly. So source B proves or does not prove that. Okay, here you would have to change the claim. So source C is wrong. Alright. Okay, because it is reliable or unreliable. Okay, let me just do minor edit. Alright. So source B proves that source C is wrong because it is reliable / unreliable. So this is evident. Okay, then you would explain your CAP for source C as source B. Okay, then you explain. So after you explain, right, then you go on to say, furthermore, alright, the source C is reliable / unreliable. Okay, then you explain the CAP for source B. Okay, so after you explain the CAP for source C, okay, then you just need to make your conclusion. So does this makes B reliable or unreliable, and it proves or does not prove that source C is wrong. Alright. So in this case, you would have 4 sentences, answer the question directly, okay, then do CAP for B, do CAP for C, alright. So finally, then you would simply have to conclude, okay, based on the reliability of source B, and then you have to say whether it proves or does not prove that C is wrong, alright. So this is the sentence starter for your double proving, okay, based on the CAP, okay. And so with that, okay, we are done. So I've gone through the nature of proving with you, alright, how to identify the different types of proving question. Okay, then we talk about how to think about the steps taken to answer proving question. Okay, and then finally, I gave you the different sentence structure. So for your homework, okay, I've gone through source B and source C with you over here already. So you can make use of the information that I gave regarding both sources to actually answer this practice. Alright, I want you to try the practice on your own, and then you have to submit the work. Alright. Okay, one last thing before I end off, okay, before I forget. So over here, the analysis by the American Transportation Research Institute, okay, published in the American Trucking Association magazine. Alright. So for the CAP for this, do you think that this source is reliable? Okay, so it is about it is published in the Trucking Association, right? So what is the purpose of saying that self-driving car will benefit America? Okay, so over here, the intentions is to convince the American Trucking Association to adopt self-driving car use. In the trucking industry. Alright. So now there are 2 different groups over here. First is the Transportation Research Institute, right? Then the second one is the Trucking Association. So basically this source is about 2 groups talking to each other. Okay, the Research Institute is talking to the Trucking Association, and then the Research Institute, okay, he wants to convince the trucking association to adopt self-driving car. All right. Okay, so this is the intention. So the intention of the American Transportation Research Institute is to convince the trucking association to adopt the self-driving car. So he is likely to show the positive aspects of using a self-driving car. Alright, so the source is biased towards self-driving cars, alright, due to the vested interest of the American Transportation Research Institute. Alright. So given that the source is biased towards the self-driving cars due to the vested interest of the American Transportation Research Institute, so we can safely conclude that unreliable. Okay, due to vested interest. Alright, so given that source B is reliable, source C is unreliable, so can source B prove that source C is wrong? Okay, in this case, based on the CAP, can B prove that C is wrong? You should say yes. Okay, source B is reliable and it does prove that source C is wrong. Then you go on to explain why source B is reliable based on your CAP, and then you explain why source C is unreliable based on the CAP, okay, and how source C is actually wrong. Alright, so this is it for this practice. Do watch the video again if you did not manage to catch every point. I realized that double proving is actually quite a difficult concept to understand, especially with the idea of whether or not it proves or does not prove, you know, and then it also dependent on the claim. Is the claim saying that something is right or something is wrong? It can actually change the answers by quite a bit. Okay, so you have to pause the video if you need to. Okay, rewatch it if you need to. Alright, otherwise I do not have anything else for you. Okay, and that is all for today's lesson. Make sure to do your homework and submit it to get feedback from your teachers. Alright, so that is all for today. Thank you and goodbye. Bye bye.